guys. I have to make an arrangement of all roses. So the easiest way for me to do that is to make a hand-tied bouquet out of roses. And this is the spiral technique. And I know a lot of people are liking the wildflower bouquets these days. So you're not really seeing any tutorials on a hand-tied all rose bouquet, which is kind of very traditional. I do see it coming back. So I just wanted to do a video on a hand-tied rose bouquet and then show you how I'm going to make that into an arrangement. And this arrangement is for a groom. I did their wedding 10 years ago, so it's their 10-year anniversary. It's also the bride's birthday around the same time. So her bouquet were circus roses. These might be high magic. And her centerpieces were purple and green. So he actually ordered 2 arrangements, which I do custom arranging like that as well. The minimum's $175. So this arrangement is going to be mimic of her bouquet, and then the other arrangement I'm going to do is her centerpieces, the purple and the green. So I always look at the stems when I start. Do you see how this has that curve in it? This is going to be good for a side rose on the bouquet. It's not going to be good for the middle. I need straight up, because when you're talking about a bouquet, you want it, all rose bouquet, you want it a dome, right? You don't want it all flat on top. You really want it to be round. So this is going to be really good for a side flower, so side rose. So I'm going to start with my middle. I'm going to get as straight as possible, and I'm going to get all the same size heads. So this is how you start your middle. You start with 4 roses and you create like a box. So there's 2 and 2. That's going to be your middle. You squeeze them really tight. And then when you add roses now, you're always going to add it at an angle. And that's going to be your spiral technique. So can you see that this stem comes out at an angle? So a lot of people will say it's across your body, whether you do it this way or whether you do it this way. So I do it this way, across my body. So it really is place at the angle and twist. And that really is the simple part. Place and twist, just to remember that. So I'm going to place, again, it's across my body. I'm doing a little backwards for you, but you nestle it up against the other roses. All the stems need to be going in the same direction, right? So you can't do a cross placement. You want the spiral to be in the same and twist. Now, as you're going, you always want each rose to be a little less in height, a little lower, so that we're creating this dome effect. So this one you can see is a little too high. I'm just going to bring them down. So here again, I'm not going to do that one. I should have taken off all the leaves before. Twist. So you see how my stems are starting to spiral out? Sometimes I can do 2 and then twist. All right, so now I'm starting to create a shape. So as I go, I kind of pull up and I pull down so that it's nice and round. You could always tell where you left off because usually there's a space for your next layer. So literally, you just keep going. The same way, the same direction, place on an angle. That one's sticking out a little bit, so I'm going to push it down. All right, you see how that's happening? So here, I have two that really aren't that open while the other ones are really open. So I don't want a part of the bouquet that has really closed roses. So I'm going to try to fit this guy in there. So see, you have some closed ones. Oh, sometimes they break. And the reason why is because look at how, you see how green it is and then how brown it is? So a lot of times these nodules, it's where they're really, really fragile. So even if you're doing the technique the correct way, you could still have some breakage, but usually you don't. So now that I said that, I'm probably gonna have a lot more breakage, right? Murphy's Law. All right, so that, I want a real open one in that space. You can see that hole right there. Yeah, fits in nice. Fits in nice. All right, still twisting. Sometimes I forget to twist because I can kind of see all sides. I've been doing this for so long. All right, we're coming down to like 4 left. So when I have only a few left, now I kind of look and see where I need it, because we don't want this line to go like this. So there is a hole right here. So you can get out of your spiral as long as you still, when you're adding, it's going in the same direction. Because with roses, they're very hard. The stems are very slippery, so they move around all the time. Okay, so this is another thing that I like to do. Because you're working with different size heads, not always do they meet up nicey nice. So there's a hole right here. So what you can do is poke right through. Get it at the right angle though. See, I'm still going the same direction and at the right angle. And he just filled that spot, but I created another hole, so there's that one. So I'm gonna look, make sure you can move petals around. So here's our line. I'm gonna move things down a little bit. You know what? I think I have 2 left, but I think I'm gonna tie it off, put it in here, and then add the 2. No, you know what? I'm not going to. I don't think I even need the 2. I should have gotten my bind. So hold one moment. Sorry about that. So a lot of times I'll tape with waterproof Oasis tape, but because you're gonna see this, I am using forget what it's called. It comes in green and raffia colored, straw colored. It's a covered wire. I'll have to remember. It's escaping. So I'm just wrapping it around. I'm gonna twist that little piece that I started with. And then you see these stems, right? Of course. I'm just gonna trim them because they're in my way right now. so that I can bind this together. Maybe this is called bind wire. Isn't that funny? I think it is. I'm going to go down a little bit. Okay, so at least I have it together. So now the shape is getting a little wonky. So now I'm going to pull up and pull down. So if this was a hand-tied bouquet that I was gonna wrap with the stems with ribbon, I would have used this Oasis tape, this waterproof tape, which I really like to use because then the ribbon, when you put the ribbon on, it doesn't wick and get all wet. Some people use the regular Oasis tape. I find that that's not flexible enough for what I need. So I'm creating the shape. I hope you can see, moving roses around. And now I'm gonna wrap again, keep wrapping. Okay. Come back with that piece that I started with. This guy broke while I was wrapping. I was a little too aggressive with him. All right. So now, again, the shape got a little wonky, but that's okay. Again, if this was a bridal bouquet, it would be a little less wonky because the tapes that I use are more secure. All right, so now I want the roses to sit right on this glass vase. So this is an easy kind of way to cut. You put the roses on here and you cut them where the bottom of the vase is gonna be. So I'm gonna cut them right here. Now that's used as a guideline. It's not gonna be perfect science because usually I don't wanna cut them too short. So a lot of times I'll cut them low. I'll cut them too tall. See, I cut it too tall. But at least it gets me to a guideline and then I can trim as I go because I never wanna cut too short. There we go, right? So they're right there. Beautiful, right? You could see the spiral. Let me show you that. See that spiral technique? So if I wanted to then go ahead and add these roses, I would want to get it in the middle of all the other stems. There we go. And at the same angle. Add one more over here and then I think we're done. I think I'm gonna add just, well, I was gonna add lemon leaf, but you know what? I might not because then you're not gonna see that pretty spiral. So what I'm doing now is just moving petals around, moving some rose heads around, creating that nice round shape. Nice dome. I don't like everything to be exactly the same. It's nice that each rose has its own little space to peek out and be the star of the show. So if you wanted to add lemon, let's see what that would look like, right? I would say it's still okay to do it. I would just follow the stems of the roses so you're still in that nice spiral technique. This is too short. You're going to have to keep them really long to do that. But I don't think I'm going to add any, but if you wanted to, that's what you would do. So the stems are going with the spiral. But I am not going to add any. I actually got in some lily grass. Her bouquet had some strips of lily grass. So let's have some fun, right? So I'm gonna stick it within the center of the rose stem so it's in a little bit of water. And then the other end is gonna get tucked in. Keep it long enough so that it doesn't wanna poke out. Keep it within the stems. And then have it go right back in to the stems. So I'm just going to do, they look like antennas now, but a lot of times what I'll do, I'll show you this technique. So I take my knife and I do a little slice in that lily grass. Take my knife, I do a little slice in this lily grass. I'll take another piece of lily grass. I'll put it right through that hole, right through that slice. I'll take this end, put it right through that slice. Isn't that fun? So I'm going to do a couple more pieces of that lily grass and then we're done. So there's your nice rose centerpiece that I made doing a regular hand-tied rose bouquet. Thank you.